Taking care of our lawnmowers. Nowadays, we need to keep all our landscape tools lasting as long as possible. Here to teach us the basics of maintaining lawnmowers is Alan Zuk. Dr. Zuk is an associate professor in the Department of Plant Sciences, and he focuses most of his time in teaching students at the university. His teaching goal is to prepare his students to meet the demands of a competitive turf industry by providing research-based information in the classroom and hands-on experiences in the lab. Alan, welcome to the forums.
Thanks, Tom. And hi, everybody. I heard there's what, 600 out there? And that kind of
Yeah,
makes me nervous, but I'll do
so
the best I can. All right.
well, you'll do
So
great.
today we're going to talk about lawnmower maintenance, simple lawnmower maintenance. We're not going to get too technical at all, but hopefully I can give you some tips that'll help you extend the life of your lawnmower. They're kind of expensive these days, but yeah, just a few tips to help you maintain your lawnmower so it gives you years and years of service. All right, a little history for you. The lawnmower. The first lawnmower was invented in England, 1828. It is by Edwin Buddig. The story I read about this person is that he owned a lot of land and he liked to drink with his buddies, but his wife wouldn't let him go to the pub until the grass was mowed, and he couldn't stand it. Which, back then it means he had to get the scythe out and cut his acreage with the scythe. So he turned around and invented the lawnmower. And this is what he came up with. This is a real type lawnmower. You look at this little schematic down here. This is what we call a real type lawnmower, and they are still in use today. Of course, they're not as big and bulky. Okay, by 1870, Elwood McGuire invented a lighter form of the reel mower. Okay, and by 1885, the U.S. was producing 50,000 lawnmowers a year and sending them out across the country and across the world. Okay, and well, here's kind of the type of mower we had 100 years after the reel mower was invented. This is a push type or a reel type mower, push type, not gas powered. About 1925, about 100 years ago. This is what homeowners use to mow their lawn. Okay, and this is kind of a modern day reel mower. People ask me, I get this question all the time, how come I can't put a putting green in my backyard? Well, this is the type of mower you're going to need if you do have a bent grass green in your backyard, little putting box, chipping box, whatever. But this mower here is going to cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, and you're going to be mowing every day, well, at least 6 days a week to maintain that green. So it's best to leave that to the local golf course. It's just too much of a headache to manage your own chipping green in the backyard. Okay, and of course, we're going to talk about rotary mowers today. The first rotary mower was invented back in the late 1890s, and it wasn't a horizontal blade, it's kind of a drum-shaped blade. And the horizontal type reel mowers became popular in the 1920s, and the first ones that were commercially available to residents was invented and marketed by Toro, 1938. Okay, and then they became very popular after World War II. The old push-type reel mowers kind of went by the wayside, making way for the rotary mower that we're familiar with today. Now, this mower is going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,500. The typical 18-inch residential push mower has a horsepower ranging from 2 to 7. And of course, that's going to affect price too. But if you take care of this machine, it should last you 20 years. Easy. And again, a machine that's not well maintained might let go before it's 5 years old. So maintenance, as simple as it is very important. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, two different types of mowers, two-stroke engine and four-stroke engine. The maintenance is going to be the same, but I just want to give you a little breakdown. The old two-strokes. I think you're familiar with these. You mix oil with the gas. The two-stroke lawnmowers have kind of gone by the wayside. Most of our push mowers now are four-stroke, but we still have two-stroke tools that we use, gas-powered tools, leaf blowers, chainsaws, weed whips. These are all two-stroke. Okay, and then again, the four-stroke. To recognize these, they have a separate gas and oil tank. Okay, the two strokes are lighter and they're also louder. I don't want to get too technical, but every time the crankshaft spins around, the valve opens and to vent off exhaust. With the four-stroke engine, the crankshaft goes around two times before the valves open. So the four strokes are quieter. They're quieter. They deliver more torque, which means you can push through thicker grass. But when we talk about strength versus weight, the strength weight ratio, the two strokes are actually a stronger machine. But when it comes to, again, four-stroke lawnmower, again, they do deliver better torque, which means you can push through thicker grass. And they are more fuel efficient. Like I said, they are quieter and emit fewer emissions. Okay, so most of the mowers that we're familiar with, or most of the mowers we use today, are four-stroke engines. Okay, but the maintenance is basically the same between two and four-stroke. Okay, let's talk about motor oil. It's important to change motor oil on lawnmowers, and most owner manuals will suggest that you change the oil on your push mower by after every 50 hours of use. Okay, motor oil serves three functions. First, I think we can all understand that it's a lubricant. It lubricates the piston going up and down the cylinder. Okay, with metal on metal, it's an important lubricant. Without it, piston's going to freeze. Okay, it's going to weld to the piston wall. It's also a coolant. It dissipates the heat from the cylinder, circulates it throughout, at the same time dissipating that heat. And it's also a detergent. You look at this new motor oil right here. What's that? What color is that? That's amber, right? Or you might call it a copper color. 50 hours later, you take it out. You change it. Look what color it is. It's jet black. What causes that color change? Well, you can temperature, sure, a little bit, but for the most part, these are the impurities that got past your filter. Okay, and they were captured, trapped by the oil. Oil is a detergent. Okay, so what happens if we let it go for over 50 hours? Well, it's gonna capture or trap more and more impurities to the point now where these impurities are etching the cylinder walls. And what's going to happen over time? Well, that engine's going to lose compression. Your mower's going to lose power. And like I said, you might have to trash it after 5 years. So again, follow owner manual instructions. And for the most part, you're going to change oil every 50 hours. Okay? We'll come back to it. We'll talk about air filters here in a little bit, but it's also important to keep the mower free of debris as you're mowing. This is a cooling fan. This is located on a push mower. It's located on top of the mower. It's the part that spins around. As the blade's spinning down below, the cooling fan's spinning up above. It's important to keep that screen free of debris. Okay, if you do see debris stacking up clippings, cottonwood seeds, or whatever, stop the mower and brush it off. That's the air intake. Okay, yeah, the engine depends on that air. Okay, it's going to be circulated by the cooling fan. Now, if it's a riding mower, that cooling fan's going to be located off to the side, either to your side or it's going to be behind you, below the seat. Make sure that intake is free of debris so that enough air can get in to cool the engine and dissipate the heat. Okay? Now, a little bit about filter maintenance. Whether it's, any mower is going to have a filter, whether it's a push mower or a riding mower. Well, how do we take care of it? Well, you need to clean it after every mowing. And it's not that hard to do. Take it out of the compartment, and what you want to do is tap it out. Don't use compressed air to clean your filter. This picture I'm showing you over here is wrong. Okay, I probably should have said don't do this up here or something like that, but do not use compressed air to clean out your filters. The reason I'm telling you that is because that compressed air can force those dust particles through the paper element, creating larger holes. Now, we're not going to see them. These are micro holes. But what that's going to do is let more impurities pass the filter into your engine. Well, of course, the oil is going to capture it, but it's it's going to reduce the lifespan of the oil, and it could cause etching, like I said, between the piston and the cylinder wall. It could etch the cylinder wall. So don't use compressed air to clean out the filter. Just tap it out. Tap it out on the driveway, sidewalk, or whatever. It doesn't take, you don't have to strike it real hard. Just tap it out, and you'll see the dust fall out. Now, some filters have what we call a pre-cleaner, a sponge pre-cleaner. So take it off, tap out the filter. And you want to clean that pre-cleaner. Well, how do you do that? Just simply run it in soapy water. Wring it out, get it as dry as possible. After you wash out the soap, you'll notice that the soap's gone. It's not setting up anymore. Just clean it in a towel. Make sure it's dry before you put it back on the paper element. But better than that, let's see this thing right here is in the way. You can buy uh, uh, air filter oil, okay, to spray on that pre-cleaner. It's going to trap even more dust if you do that. If you don't have air filter oil, you can just apply some clean motor oil to it. Be sure, if you do that, use clean motor oil, wring it out again. Try to get every drop out of there, and then wrap it up in a clean cloth towel to get even more oil out of it. But by oiling this sponge pre-cleaner, again, it's going to be even more effective. It's going to trap impurities before it even makes it to the paper element. Okay. And like I said, anything that makes it past that paper element is going to go down into your engine, only to be trapped by the oil. Okay. What about fuel? What kind of fuel should we use in our lawnmowers? Well, just about every owner's manual I've come across says do not use ethanol-based fuel. But well, good luck with that. Most of our fuel at the pump is blended with ethanol, and it's probably only 10% or so. But it's kind of hard to find straight gas anymore. There are some stations that do sell straight gas. If you get on the internet and again ask about gas stations that sell straight gas in your community, they'll probably list a couple of them. I'm aware of two or three here in Fargo. Um, Again, most stations are going to sell you a blend. In reality, you can use that blend in your mower. Okay. Now, the one thing you do not want to do is store that ethanol blend gasoline over the winter. Do not do that. The reason uh, we're telling you that is that ethanol-based fuel will varnish the carburetor over the winter months. Now you're going to have to take it in. Somebody's going to have to disassemble that carburetor, clean it, reassemble it, and it's going to cost you about $50. Okay. 10% ethanol blend will work just fine in a lawnmower. I do it all the time here at NDSU when we're out there mowing our research plots. But I will not store it over the winter. I'll drain it out. I'll drain it out. But again, when it comes down to it, that walk behind or that push mower will burn 10% ethanol-based fuel. Now, I know I'm going against the grain here. I'm telling you to do something that's not stated in the owner's manual. Another thing you need to be aware of, if you do this, you might lose your warranty. But in reality, that mower will burn 10% ethanol-based fuel. Again, last time, just don't store it over the winter in your lawnmower gas tank. Okay, let's say you try to start your mower in the springtime, about now, okay, and you notice that it won't start. First thing you want to do is check your fuel tank. Do I have fuel in there? All right, after that, okay, there's fuel. It still won't start. First thing you want to go to is your spark plug. Take the spark plug out, take a look at it. It could be gunked up, like you see here on your left. Okay, that can be cleaned, easily cleaned. That could be the problem right there. And you want to make sure it's gapped properly. I'll say a few words about that. But get that plug cleaned off and put it back in, screw it back in, and hopefully the mower will start. If it doesn't start after that, it could be something more serious. Like I said, it might be a varnished carburetor or something. It might be a compression issue. You might have to take it in. Could be points, whatever. But usually, after you look at the spark plug, the mower usually starts. Okay, if it's gapped properly. Okay, how do we clean the spark plug? A wire brush will do just fine. You might even run a file between the electrodes. Okay. Let me go to the next slide here. There's a electric machine here that contains small particle sand. Now, I wouldn't invest in one of these unless you have a shop. Okay. But if it's just a single mower in your garage, no, you wouldn't want to invest in this. But this is a quick way to do it. You stick the spark plug in, the electrode in, and that abrasive sand will clean it off. But your best bet is to use a cleaner, a solvent, and then a wire brush. Should do the trick. Okay. And then, like I said, it should be gapped properly before you reinstall it into the mower. And what do I mean by gapping? Well, this is a gap gauge. You want the right proper distance between the electrodes. You have the center electrode, and this top part's called the ground electrode. In this case, just for example, this will be 25 1/1000ths of an inch. Most lawnmowers require 30 to 35 1/1000ths of an inch. Again, that's going to be stated there in your owner's manual. So get it gapped properly. You can go to any auto parts store and get one of these gap gauges. Okay. And there are many, many different widths, okay, or thicknesses to choose from. Okay, but get it gapped properly. You want that gauge to fit in there kind of snug. You don't want it to be loose and you don't want it to be super tight, but you definitely want a snug fit. And you can rock it. If it's really tight, you can rock that gauge a little bit to open up the electrode. If you push it too far, just tap that electrode on your workbench, close it back up, and try to get it gapped properly. You'll eventually get it. But without the proper gap, it's not going to fire properly. Let me go back a little bit, and this is what you're going to get. You're going to get an incomplete burn, and you're going to get this buildup. This is a common problem with a spark plug that's not gapped properly. But you can't just take it out of the package and screw it into the mower. Okay, it has to be gapped properly. Okay, very simple procedure. As far as your car goes, that gap distance will be listed. Once you open the hood, it's going to be stamped right there on the frame. Okay, but the same holds true for lawnmowers, chainsaws, any type of internal combustion engine. That plug has to be gapped properly. Okay. Let's talk about the blade. Okay, the blade itself. This is a rotary mower blade. There are different parts of this blade I want to point out. The distance from the cutting edge to the back side of the blade is called the arm. Okay, I'm going to point that out for a reason. I'll come back to that. And the curved portion, opposite side of the cutting edge, is called the sail. The sail. When you install a blade, the sail always goes up. Okay. Some cases, every once in a while, someone will put one of these on upside down. It's not cutting properly. Well, I'll explain that to you in a second. But in most cases, you can't install it upside down because it's not going to fit in the blade saddle properly. But some of I guess the cheaper blades, okay, can go in upside down by mistake. But you always want to put the sail up. Remember, the sail on a sailboat always faces up. Okay, it's not below the boat, it's upward. Same holds true with your rotary mower blade. Make sure that sail is positioned upward. Well, what's the function of a sail? Why is it there? Well, this blade is spinning at a rapid rate. We'll talk about the speed. It's over 200 miles an hour. Okay. But this sail creates turbulent air under the deck, and that's what pulls the grass blade up so that the sharp edge can come around, the blade can come around and provide a nice cut. And also that turbulent air forces the clippings out of the discharge chute, back into the turf canopy or into the bag. Okay, but that sail is there for a reason. Okay, it's functional. It creates turbulence under the deck, pulls the grass blade up, and allows the clippings to be discharged out of the chute. Now, let's go back to the arm. Again, it's this portion from the cutting edge to the back is called the arm. When the arm wears down to 1 inch, it's time to replace that blade. All right, this blade becomes a dangerous liability at that point. This cutting edge can break off if you strike something hard with that mower. And it could be shot out of the discharge chute at a rapid speed. And basically, it's shrapnel. So when the arm portion wears down to 1 inch, and with a residential blade, that's going to take years. Again, a parks department, golf course situation, it might wear down in 3 years or so. We'll talk about sharpening here in a bit, but when the arm portion wears down to an inch, switch out the blade. It's not going to break the bank. It's going to cost you about $25 to replace that blade. Okay? Again, it's going to become a liability if you leave it in place. All right? So here's a blade that's worn down. Not quite an inch, but look how dangerous it is. As the cutting edge wears down, it can start to fracture and those pieces can break off. Look over here. Apparently that piece did break off. It launched out the chute, or it could be launched out the chute at a rapid speed. Okay, so at this point, this blade needs to be discarded. Take it off, throw it away. It's a liability at that point. Now, a little bit about the blade tip speed. Blade tip speed on a typical 20, 18-inch walk-behind rotary mower, residential lawnmower, at 3,600 RPMs is approximately, look at that, 214 miles an hour, or 314 feet per second. This blade is spinning at a rapid rate. Again, with a razor sharp edge too. Okay. Again, get rid of the blade at that point. It's too dangerous at this point when the arm portion wears down to an inch. Okay, a little bit about sharpening. All right. I'm going to open some eyes with this next statement, but it's the truth. How often do we sharpen rotary mower blades? Well, your best bet is to sharpen after, look at this, every 8 hours of use. Now that's, I know, half a year, that's unheard of. Most homeowners don't sharpen their blades at all. When I was a kid, I mowed the grass back in grade school. Our mower blades looked like butter knife handles. They weren't sharp at all. We didn't sharpen, we didn't know any better. Okay, and we certainly weren't cutting the grass. Or when I was using a lawnmower, I wasn't cutting grass, I was ripping the grass with those dull blades. Now, a rotary motor blade is no different than a pocket knife. It's going to get dull. Okay, even with that, I know most people aren't going to do this, but I'm in the research business, teaching and research business, and we do have research plots out here at NDSU. I do follow this rule. Sharpen the rotary motor blades after every 8 hours of use because, again, we don't want to affect our research. Okay, when we sharpen, you should shoot for a 30-degree angle, and that will come with practice. You'll be able to see it with your eye. You'll get good eye for it. It does come with practice. First time you try this, it's going to be hard, but you get better at it. 20-degree angle, well, that'll still cut, but it's very narrow. Okay, and the cutting edge is more likely to chip out at that low angle. Okay, you can chip it by hitting something sharp like a rock, of course, or a piece of wood. Okay, 40 degrees, just way too blunt. Okay, so you want to shoot for about a 30-degree angle and sharpen only the top side. You don't need to sharpen both sides. You're just going to wear out that blade that much faster if you sharpen both sides. Just sharpen the cutting side, the top side. Okay, now if there's a burr in the blade, you can tap it out. Other than that, you don't need to sharpen the bottom side of the blade. And again, reattach the blade to the mower with the sail pointing upward. Now, I didn't put this in print. I just realized I left it out. You can use an impact wrench to take a blade off. Okay, you're going to have to jam it in place with a piece of wood. Use an impact wrench. It's, again, an air-powered wrench, or it might even be electric. Looks like a drill with a socket on the end of it. And you can use, again, an impact wrench to take the blade off. But you want to use a torque wrench to put the blade back on. Don't use an impact or an air-powered wrench to put it back on because you can strip out the blade saddle if you do that. And now you need to take the mower in so it can be tapped out, and that's going to cost you. Okay. Again, to reattach the blade, use a torque wrench. Set it at 50, 60 pounds, whatever the manual calls for. You'll hear it click once you hit that pressure or that amount of pressure, and it's on safely. Okay, but don't use an air-powered wrench or a torque wrench to put it back on. Like I said, you could strip out the blade saddle. Okay, this kind of gives you an idea what the grinders look like. Okay, I've used them all. Okay, pedestal type grinder, benchtop type grinder, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Use a file and a vise to put an edge on that blade. I'll do it every 8 hours. Again, I don't want a dull blade affecting my research here. And like I said, that blade is no different than a pocket knife. It will get dull with use. Okay. How do you know when you're no longer cutting and you're actually ripping the blade? Well, this is what it looks like after you mow. Your lawn's actually going to have a whitish cast to it. You don't even have to get on your knees to look. You'll see it. Okay. These blades have been ripped by a dull blade. They're not cut, they're ripped. Okay. And your lawn will actually have a whitish cast to it after. And we call the grass that remains in place verdure. Vedure. But when you look back and it looks whitish, well, I need to sharpen my blades. And don't be surprised if you have to do it after every 2 or 3 mowings. Okay. Okay. What are some of the effects of mowing with dull blades? A reduction in turf quality. As I just mentioned, you'll see that whitish cast to your lawn. An increase in disease susceptibility because that wound takes longer to heal. Okay, it's not a nice clean cut, it's a rip, and that's going to take longer to heal, which makes that turf more susceptible to disease infection. And in the case of a riding mower, it decreases more fuel efficiency by 22% because it causes those dull blades cause more resistance as the mower is going forward. If it's a walk behind, it's just going to make you more tired, okay, because of the resistance. Okay, here's a comparison. This is a clean cut lawn. Again, you'll be able to see it. If your blades are sharp, it's just a nice clean cut. That wound's going to heal quickly. Okay, thereby reducing the chance of disease infection, as opposed to the turf that's been ripped, okay, because of a dull blades, or a dull blade, I should say. Okay, a couple more slides to go and we're done. Daily mower maintenance, or any maintenance on any small engine in your shop or your garage. Check the oil level before you start any small engine. Clean the filter in pre-cleaner. You ought to get in the habit of doing that after you put the mower, before you put the mower away. Lube all zerks. In the case of a riding mower, these are grease zerks. Okay, make sure they're lubed so that the bearings don't wear out too quick or too fast or whatever. Again, I don't, you might have a 7 or 8 or 8, 10, 12 zerks on that mower. Make sure they're lubed properly before you take that riding mower out. There are no grease zerks on a walk behind, but I'm talking a riding mower in this case. Check the fuel level before leaving the garage or shop. Okay, you don't want to run out before you get the job done. And besides, most fuel pumps are in the gas tank now. Fuel pumps need to be cooled. Okay, when that tank is on E or just around E, that fuel pump's not cooled properly, and it could wear out before its lifetime, expected lifetime. Okay, the same holds true on your car. Uh, yeah, that fuel pump is in your tank. If you're the type of person that likes to ride around on E, well, that fuel pump could wear out. Life expectancy about 150,000 miles. If you like to ride around on E all the time, well, don't be surprised if that fuel pump lets go after 100,000 miles. Same holds true with your riding more. Yeah, okay. Okay. Note the type of fuel used. Again, this is golf course, parks department situation. Make sure your summer employees know what type of fuel goes in the tank, gasoline or diesel. You should mark it clearly. You can buy decals. Okay. Of course, if it's your personal mower, you're going to know what source of fuel goes in there. Okay, check blade sharpness. And again, check tire pressure. If the tires are not inflated properly, you could wind up scalping your lawn out there, especially if it's not really smooth. There are undulations in the turf, you could wind up scalping. Okay, or if one tire is lower than the other three, it's going to affect the quality of cut. Okay, periodic, well, in this case, rider mower maintenance. Check the brake fluid. According to the owner's manual, okay, that might be every 6 months or so. Hydraulic oil still, maybe every 6 months. And again, spark plugs. You certainly want to check the spark plugs at the beginning of the season. Okay, but then again, this is not daily maintenance, periodic maintenance based on the owner's manual recommendations, or the recommendation of the owner's manual. And okay, now let me see. Right. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Right here. Whenever you work on your mower, whether it's a riding mower or deck mower, and you're underneath, disconnect the spark plug. This is just the first safety. This is important. You need to disconnect that spark plug. It's possible that you can actually fire that engine by moving the blade. This is a rare occurrence, but it can happen, especially if the engine is primed. And primed, I mean, is there gas in the carburetor? You spin that blade. It's just like you see these old pictures where they spin the blade on an airplane to get it to go. Well, the same thing can occur here. It's not likely to happen, but it can happen if the carburetor is primed and your on-off switch is a little worn. Okay, so anytime you go below deck, disconnect the spark plug, take that hood off, and then go to work. Okay, but don't leave it on. It's possible that you could fire that mower. Well, that's the last thing we want. That blade spinning 214 miles an hour, and you're right there. Um, I believe that's my last slide. Yes, it is. Okay, Tom, I think we're ready for questions.
Okay, Alan, sounds good. And we invite people's questions. Please put your mouse down to the bottom of the screen to the Q&A box and ask your questions. We got a few of them here, Alan. How
Oh,
about as far as can you stretch the oil changing interval by using synthetic oil?
oh boy, we're getting into technicalities here. That will be stated in the owner's manual. Now you can stretch it if you're not mowing in dusty locations. Okay. Oh, let me turn that phrase around. If you are mowing in a dusty location, you're going to change more often. But the synthetic oil will state on the container whether
Okay.
you can extend the life of the oil. Okay.
Are
What
there
I would do in that case is talk to your dealer.
okay.
Okay. There are different types of synthetic oil out there. You're making oil out of natural gas now. Um, my best answer for you is to check with your dealer. Okay.
Does a product like Stabil, Stabil, does that help with gas overwintering?
It does, but again, it does stabilize the gas, extends the life of it. Gas tends to go flat, will go flat over the winter, and it will stabilize the gas. You can use that gas the following spring. But again, once again, do not store ethanol blended gas in that tank over the winter. It will varnish your carburetor.
Alan, do you have any tips in general about battery powered mowers? Any special tips to maintaining them or concerns?
Keep the battery clean. If you let it get grimy, it tends to lose power. It can ground out because of that buildup on the outer case. Okay, at the beginning of the season, if it's not self-contained, check the electrode level in the battery itself. You can top it off with water. Okay, but the best thing you can do is keep the outer battery clean, free of grime. If you don't, once again, the power can trickle out through that grime and ground out. You can lose power quicker. Again, a battery, car battery, lawnmower battery, can last anywhere from 3 to 5 years. But if you let it get grimy, it's gonna fail long before that.
Okay. When it comes to sharpening your blade, how do you measure a 30-degree angle?
Okay, that's a good question. There are angle gauges out there you can purchase. There are even benchtop grinders that look similar to the knife sharpener in your kitchen. You can set the angle on it and run it in and out until it has a nice clean edge to it. But my advice to you is get an angle finder, like a gauge, and after a while you'll develop an eye for it. Uh, I don't have a better answer to that, but you will get good at it. Okay, and
Okay.
you'll hit that 30 degree. Uh, yeah, that's my best answer for you.
Okay. How about
Okay.
once we're done sharpening, how important is that the mower blade is balanced?
That's a very good question. Before a lot of these sharpeners, well, have a wire brush and a grinding wheel. Okay, yes. You want to clean off all of the grime with the with the brush wheel and then sharpen after that. What you want to do is get a balance. And you can get a metal one, you can get a plastic one. They're cheap. Put that on your tool bench, and when you're done grinding or when you're done sharpening, put it on that balance. If it's right in the middle where the bolt goes into the blade saddle, put that blade on the balance. If it's heavy on one side, take a little more off. Okay. Now I'm assuming that you have all the grime off of the blade. All right. You're working with now a clean blade before you sharpen or before you balance it. But if one side's a little heavy, uh, take a little more metal off. Okay. It's important that it's balanced. Okay.
Okay.
Without that, how should I say, uh, it's gonna fall into a state that we call resonance. Okay, it's spinning real fast, but it's gonna be vibrating, and that's hard on the shaft, the mower shaft. Eventually, it'll come out of resonance, and it'll do fine. But while it's vibrating, it can bend the shaft over time. Okay, but that's a good question. Clean the grime off, then sharpen, then balance it.
How
Okay.
about can a homeowner sharpen a lawn tractor blade by themselves? And if
They
they can, about how long does that take?
Okay, I worked in many parks departments. Okay, I was a supervisor at Newton Parks Department for about 3 years. We trained our summer help to sharpen blades every morning. We had the 8-hour rule down there. Okay, they can take the blades off. We're talking deck mowers now. They can take 3 blades off, sharpen them, put them back on in a half hour. It was always sad to see them go in late August when they had to go back to school. We had them trained nicely. Okay. We also had a set of blades off to the side, many blades off to the side. It's a good rainy day project. Just start sharpening those. Okay. Now let me backtrack. They can take them off and put a new set on out the door in a half hour. But the sharpen, this is probably going to take 10 minutes a blade. Once you get good at it, about 10 minutes, uh, both edges on a blade. Okay. Um, but yeah, you can get good at it. I know you're gonna be a little scared. It's a loud process, very loud process. It throws off a lot of sparks. It's not gonna set you on fire. Okay. But you will get good at it. Believe me, you will get good at it after a while. But it takes about 10 minutes to sharpen both edges on a rotary mower blade.
Okay. Do you have any tips about cleaning under the mower?
Yes, it just takes a putty knife. Okay.
Okay.
Go under the mower, disconnect the spark plug. I can't stress that enough. Be sure you have safety jacks. Block the wheels, have safety jacks, one on each end of the deck. All right. In case the hydraulics give out, that deck falls, you don't want to be underneath it. But those safety jacks will save your life. Okay.
Okay.
But a putty knife is all it takes.
All right.
Okay.
How about will sea foam cut the varnish?
I honestly don't know. I've never torn a carburetor apart. I always send it in. And well, we have a shop here on campus, and that's going to cost you about $50. I don't know. Again, your mechanic will tell you, but I imagine that he's talking about running it through the carburetor without disassembling it, I would think, but I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay. How about is premium gas better than standard gas when I go to a
Again, best advice I can give you is rely on the um,
owner's
owner's
manual?
manual. Yeah, premium gas works best in cars at high altitude, like you're driving through the Rockies or so, but I couldn't say for sure how it affects lawnmower performance. That'll
Okay.
clearly be stated in the owner's manual.
How about last question? You mentioned, I think you said greasing the zerks.
Yes,
What the
yes.
heck is a zerk?
A Zerk looks like the eraser on a pencil. It's silver. It's just an intake for grease. And then you have a grease gun. It looks like a tube, looks like a rolling pin with a handle on it. You go back and forth, and you're shooting grease into the Zerk, and you'll see it come out. You'll see a little bit of bleed out of the bearing. At that point, it's full. Okay, wipe that bearing clean, move on to the next Zerk. A riding mower can have 8, 10, 12 Zerks on it, maybe even more, depending on the size of the mower. A push mower has no Zerks. Don't worry about it. But on a riding mower, you want to make sure the bearings are well lubricated. Otherwise, they're going to wear out. On a golf course, they replace their bearings at the end of each season. A homeowner, you should get 3, 4 years out of a bearing, but without lubricating them properly, maybe after 2 years, they need to be replaced. Now, it's typically, you're not going to be able to do that in your garage. You're going to have to take it out, and of course, it's going to cost you. Have the wheel bearings, any moving part has a bearing on it, but it's going to cost money to get those replaced. They're going to, again, wear out before their expected lifespan, lifetime expectancy.
And
Okay.
what was the name of that spray for the air cleaner?
I'd have to go back to many, go to Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, um,
Okay.
and there are many of them to select. There are many of them on the shelf. You can go to any hardware store and get them. That was just one of many. I pulled it off the internet just as an example.
Okay.
Okay. But just tell them you want pre-cleaner oil, and any hardware store will have it. And again, available on the internet too. Okay. And like I said, if you don't have that aerosol, just motor oil will do it. Just be sure to wring it out really good. You think you got it wrung out, wrap it up in a cloth towel, and wring it out even more. Then put it back on the filter. You're ready to go.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you, Alan. That was really valuable
You
information
bet.
for us. Really
Glad to do
appreciate
it.
it. Thank you again.